Welcome to Grover Load, and we've had another week, and we've got more news. And let's start off with AMD, in that and Lisa Su was talking. Lisa Su, of course, had the AMD financials this week that were announced for the last quarter. So they financials real quick. They beat estimates, and their guidance here for the next quarter isn't as strong. So that's where the stock is at. But not to get into too much in the stock, what I really was interested in is some of the stuff that she's been saying, and we'll go through a couple different things that she said here. And we'll just group it all into one. She said stuff about the PC market, and this was interesting because there's headlines about it, but I think what I really want to say is in her comments here, or want to say her comments, so you guys get an understanding of where she's coming from. And she started out here, I think the PC market is an important market based on everything that we see today. We're probably seeing the PC TAM down a bit, given some of the inflationary pressures of the commodity pricings, including memory. Even in that environment with the PC market down, we believe that we can grow our PC business and focus our areas on enterprise. That's a place where we're making very nice progress in 2025, and we expect that in 2026, and just continue to grow, sort of at the premium, higher end of the market. And, this got a lot of pushback. I think some headlines were maybe not exactly what the quote was about. I think what she's saying there is, while there's a lot bigger, profit margin in the enterprise. It is what it is, right? Enterprises are willing to pay a little bit more. And while we can focus and get that part of the market, we do not want to abandon the PC market. We still want to focus and grow. And what's going to happen here is, I think that AMD has to make a choice of how they're going to do this. Now, AMD, I think, has a benefit of this, which is they have these chiplets. You can take the chiplet and spin it up and develop it for the high end. And with UDNA, hopefully that comes a little bit sooner than later. You got UDNA, maybe they keep calling it RDNA, but UDNA have everything. You got this super mega big chip for the GPU, right? For all their AI stuff. You got this huge premium, the huge processing power of the CPU too, with all their chiplets. And as we get down to it, we'll be able to also supply the PC market and grow that with these same products that have performance. But the focus of where the manufacturing and everything else is in that waterfall approach, where you get down to, even thinking enterprises laptops, right? So you got the laptops, you got the desktops in the enterprise, you got Threadripper, right? The Threadripper is probably not a incredibly massive market, but when you sell a Threadripper chip at an enterprise level, guess what? You're making a lot of money on that, more than you will, if you sell them a 7600, right? So, or sell a 7600 to me, right? That's 7500 X3D, 90 850 X3D, right? That's not going to be as much money if I'm going and buying it to AMD than the enterprise. So if they can focus on that and still give us an opportunity to grow, I don't think that AMD's losing focus on it. I think that they are making sure they address the areas and take care of them. And that's a good idea, because if you forget the users like me, guess what? We're in the enterprise, and all of a sudden you're wondering why. Maybe I'm going with a different enterprise, provider, right? Or a different, CPU provider, a different GPU provider. Maybe it's because you forgot to supply the person that uses your stuff, that then works in the enterprise and then suggests what the enterprise should buy and purchase, right? While there's some that's driven by higher ups, it's a lot that's driven by the engineers that are using the devices and seeing what they want, right? If they're using it at home, they're more adept to say, this is a great performance, this is performance I don't see at work, why don't we have this performance over at work? And it could be a lesser processor, but then they see what this can do, they want to go up to one in the enterprise, especially if, when AMD was coming out with all those bigger cores and everything else, the big thing is, especially when you're threading, right, for people in enterprise, we're just like, my home machine is just doing like twice as fast as what my enterprise machine is doing. Uh, can we start moving over to this stuff that actually is way better? And that's how you kind of go through. So I wanted to talk about that, of what Lisa said there. And then she also talked about the Steam machine and Xbox. And the more I've thought about this is that, AMD, because this was financial, right? Everything they're saying is ran by Microsoft, Steam, and even Sony. So Sony said, guess what? I want to keep the PS6 hidden up. I don't want you talking about it. Yes, we all know they're working on it. However, Sony doesn't want that out there. But you are seeing that the next gen consoles from Xbox will be coming. They will at some point be coming, and that's going to be a semi-custom chip. So we know that that was announced, and it'll be launched in 2027. The Steam machine is coming out sometime this year. We'll get into that a little bit more of what Gabe Newell said. However, we know that that's also there, and that that's being on track as well. So Steam, of course, makes sense, right? Steam wants you to talk about that console right now. It's coming out this year. No reason to keep hiding that, right? You want to get momentum behind it, especially since we don't know the pricing. You want people to keep on talking about it, so it's in their minds that, hey, this is something to go buy. And with AMD, they want the same thing. Going 2027, they've had a bad 2025. I mean, horrible, would you say, of the messaging on the Xbox side. So let's move on past that. Let's have maybe somebody else, like from a different company that makes our SoC, talk about Xbox and start getting people interested in digging around what that console is to be. Let's look at the leaks. Let's get some of these, people that like that stuff out and about and looking at it. So that's what I kind of thought about those kind of comments. It's good to get some of that stuff out, but yeah, it's you kind of look at it with all this stuff and you're just like, yeah, okay, let's see when this actually comes out. So here we go on some of the fun exploding stuff. I mean, dying CPUs. So it looks like this week has been a mess. So we're going to go over a few different things here. One, or first off, I should say, it looks like ASRock killed 5 CPUs in 24 hours. So these are on Reddit post on the ASRock Reddit, and ASRock hasn't, they've put out a statement, but they were pretty quiet at the time that was out, and video cards had this. There was a 9600X, 9700X, 9700X, 9800X 3D, and a 9950X 3D on different boards too, so it wasn't all the same board. Really kind of strange. And yeah, I was listening to Moore's Law is Dead, and he had some stuff where he also talked to, or he was talking to a supplier, somebody there, and they said that their return on the 99,000 series were much lower than what they were prior. And so, that's a good sign. Some of these things, you think about it, of what's happening and what's going on, and you're like, can we get some answers here? And I at this point, I think everyone's at slight loss. They've been looking at this for a while. I mean, you had Puget Systems that show that the 9000 series, the whole X 3D, it has had a much better failure track rate as a whole. It's only, and that's all the X3D chips. That was 1.5%, 1.51% in 2025, where the Ultra 7 265K was at 0.77%. So, where does that rate? I think that overall, you look at some of these failure rates and you're like, well, 0.77, and that's everything, where you have the 9000 series, X3D at 1.15%. Okay, I guess the whole 9000 and the whole 200 series is very close to each other. It's only 0.03 difference, where Intel's just a little bit better. So, and not having chips for failures. This is very seems like a small population of processors overall that are dying, but it keeps on showing up and happening. And you start wondering yourself, you know, and people could rub it off as just normal failure rates. But the goal is to just kind of eliminate that. How many of those failure rates are because of the ASRock boards? Or, we saw Asus here too. Well, if that's going to be part of it, that's going to be a problem, right? Quite a big problem that, okay, if I want to have the best availability of my computer, I'm going to have to avoid these two companies' motherboards. So, I mean, ASRock even did a statement on the 9000 and the AM5 motherboards here, and this was the 5th of February, and video cards had this as well. And says ASRock is closely monitoring the recent discussion regarding the performance and behavior of the AMD Ryzen 9000 series processors on ASRock AMD platforms. In response to these reports, we have implemented a comprehensive internal review and rigorous verification process. We have been working in a seamless coordination with AMD continuously to further validation systems performance across a wide range of hardware configurations while optimizing BIOS and enhancing overall system stability. ASRock deeply values user feedback as a cornerstone of our continued improvement. Customers experiencing technical difficulties or seeking further assistance are encouraged to contact the ASRock Technical Support Department. We remain committed to delivering high-performance products that meet the highest standards of quality and performance. So that's their response. Now, I have an ASRock board. I really liked it when I had it. That was a AM4 board, 500 series. Worked really well. That board is in a computer I sold at some point. Still works well. That hasn't not had a problem, right? ASRock was one of the boards I liked looking at. Now, would I like to get an ASRock board and test? Yeah, I actually would. Not that I would put into my main system. I wanted to see how it operates and see if I can replicate it. Because I was listening to Hardware Unboxed. I think it was a podcast, and they were not able to get a system to fail either. And I'm not shocked. I don't know exactly what, a lot of these users are just not doing anything on it and it's just failing. So it seems like more of a random failure than not. And so, I kind of would like to beat it up and just see what's going on. I get it. It'd probably be a waste of time. I get the luxury of me doing it something like on a gaming system where I can do some other content with it. I can have fun with it. And, YouTube isn't my full-time job where you got to get that content out there. And it's got to be worthwhile to you as well. And so unless you're going to have content out while you're pushing it out at the same time you're doing another study on a platform, it really becomes a time sink, right? And the time is sunk into the area where it's not failing, so I can't get the video out on this, or it's into the point of I have to get another video out for everybody out there that deserves another video, right? We all like to watch YouTubes and pay attention to our favorite content creators. So what do you do, right? And this would be just a fun little background project I can do. And heck, you guys have seen how long I sometimes take for reviews. It could just be one of those projects. And when it fails, we do the video on it. But yeah, this is one of those things where hopefully they get it cleaned up, but we'll see where it is. On the next little bit here, let's jump over to AMD and Intel. I want to go into this a little bit, or switch over to Intel here and see this. But Phoronix had their test of the ARC B390, so that's the the Panther Lake, the high-end Panther Lake versus the HX370. Very interesting. The HX370, by the way, great framework laptop here that I really enjoy using. However, that new 385H, the X7 385H, looks really good on that B390. It looks to, on Linux, significantly beat the AMD side, and AMD's got some work to do here. I think Intel did a nice job, especially hitting the power limits and getting this here, and I think partially AMD squandered their time. They have to get out FSR 4 for these RDNA 3 products, in my opinion. There was a good video I was watching from Hardware Unboxed that you should go watch as well on that, of talking about uh, the uh, Int 8 versus the FP8 and how to get that all working, why AMD should just even come out with this. I fully agree with their assessment over there. And come on, AMD, this is, at this point, the community has done this for you. We know it's not as good. Just get it to work. Even if it's not as good, as long as it works, you have a win. This is what I don't get. But Intel did a good job on here, right? The Intel side of the B390 and stuff, the one thing is that even XESS, right, with the, XES3 and stuff, is coming to the Alchemist cards, really doing a good job making sure that they support everything overall. And I like to see that, right? Because you could be going through and just having cards die off. Take AMD for instance, right? Put an RDNA 1 and RDNA 2 out to pasture. Now, it still gets some updates. It's not getting all the FSR stuff. But even RDNA 3, where is FSR 4, right? You've created an ecosystem where you want to have the frame gen and everything else. And while I don't use frame gen, I can see where upscalers make sense. You've created the ecosystem where now everyone needs to have this. So guess what? Now you got to provide it. And if you're not going to provide it on your old CPU or old GPUs, why should people go out and buy your product when an Intel and even NVIDIA, to a certain extent, supports their stuff on their older products? It's surprising where where NVIDIA is, but so it just makes me funny. It's just laughing, right? Because NVIDIA has been known not to bring certain features forward on each new GPU generation, but even they have a better outcome than what AMD is, just an overall perception because of how AMD has handled this FSR4. On that same topic, Intel's Lip-Bu Tan, is their CEO there, has said that he is they want to build a lot of future stuff in-house. So there's they don't really want their GPU business just going away. Um, it Where does this put them, right? I just do not see the whole entire NVIDIA chip together continue going forward as working out as we all had hoped when it first came out. I had my questions initially, and I think that those questions are probably going to come to fruition, whereas at some point Intel keeps up with their integrated and they realize that they can have just a powerful GPU in their integrated chips. They may not ever have a dedicated one. Uh, we'll see about that, but does it matter if on their, even desktop processors and laptop processors, mobile processors, they have a GPU that can compete up with the high-end AMD GPUs? So if they both can compete, where's NVIDIA sitting? This is where it gets back to where I think NVIDIA, like Foundry, I think is one of the top ones where I think it's at, and NVIDIA is trying to get into the Foundry business, so they want to go, merge up with Intel, get a little bit of that knowledge, and then be able to either create their own or buy one of Intel's. Then you have the next one where NVIDIA would like an x86 license. However, if Intel comes back and is able to make money, do they give up an x86 license? I think you still got to go to AMD for the 64-bit stuff, but I think AMD would probably be willing to do that at some level. They haven't been as closed off as Intel has been throughout the years, from what I've understood. And I think one other thing is that NVIDIA wants to be able to get their chips in things just long enough so that their N1X or their ARM series chip is able to have a foothold in the market, and they can, back away and say, if you want the best GPU, you get our CPU and you also get the best GPU. And I think that's another option. So those are the three that I float around in my head, and depending upon the time of day, I could see NVIDIA being each one of those as being the number one. And I think for Intel, if they can get something just powerful enough, if they got enough money from NVIDIA to keep them afloat, it's a win for them in the end, right? They were having troubles financially, and if they're able to turn themselves around because of that, I think that's a win, and you got to take it. And if they're able to do that, kudos to them and good job. I think that's what I like to see in it. I didn't want a company to die, but they were looking bleak there for a while. So let's talk about Intel's Arrow Lake refresh. So there's been leaks about this. We'll see where it all ends up. There's been leaks about different processors from the 270K plus, 250K plus, and then there's been rumors of a 290K plus, and then there's been rumors of a 290K canceled. I don't know where all this all is yet. I haven't seen enough. I've just been reading about it. You get a faster boost, or faster boost. No, you get a faster base and your faster E-cores and stuff. Or yeah, I guess your E-cores are boosting better. Not so much on the P-cores. A lot of E-core stuff there, and we'll see where this all goes to. See how well it is. Uh, we've seen 10%, performance uplift on them. So 10%, we'll take it. Uh, we'll see what it is in real world. We got what, like 4% on the 9850 X3D. So if it's anything lower, well, then that's going to be unfortunate because you're trying to catch AMD. If you don't have their high-end chip out, is that going to be a problem? These are questions that we're going to have to see, but I guess in about a month-ish, sometime in March, so we'll have some stuff there. And if that happens, great. If not, well, I guess we're still waiting if there's going to be a refresh. But I think Intel will get it out. They need to ride the wave a little bit if they can on Panther Lake and take advantage of that on the desktop side. Even if it doesn't beat AMD, who cares at this point? You have a high, people are going to look at your products anyways. With a win with the Panther Lake, you might be able to capitalize on that. So let's jump over to NVIDIA here. And NVIDIA was having some problems. Somebody had reported on I think it was a NVIDIA forum, and last little bit was from WCCF Tech, has an article in there, but video cards had this, and somebody was noticing visual artifacts with their new driver, and the old driver and the new driver were still showing artifacts. And somebody looked in there. It started after a Windows update, so they suggested uninstalling it. And this is my problem with Windows right now. I think that some users have reported, or not users, I'd say YouTubers out there, where they were going through laptop testing, and they said, guess what? Intel drivers are much more stable than NVIDIA's right now, and even AMD's are much stable. And I got to thinking here after this is, one, NVIDIA needs to work on to get this more stable, right? That's the simplest thing, right? They can get back to being stable. Another one is it Windows too that's maybe causing some of these issues? Now the driver wasn't crashing or anything, but you were getting a visual artifact. Is there stuff in the driver that is causing issues because of Windows, or Windows is causing an issue because of the driver, or vice versa? If I remember back to Vista, right, we were in there and we had a lot of crashes with the NVIDIA driver. I was running a lot more NVIDIA than I am. Well, I guess I'm running still quite a few NVIDIA cards, but no, I don't have anything high end. I can't afford it, but I can't afford to pay, what, 3, 4, 5 grand out on a top of the line graphics card. But I got some low end stuff here, and you start thinking about it, and are those just because it was more because of Windows or because of NVIDIA? This is the whole thing of, Microsoft trying to improve the drivers, that you kind of be like, oh man, which side is it? But NVIDIA has to maybe help out Microsoft or something, or maybe do a workaround. and try to hopefully minimize some of the stuff that Microsoft does, because the last thing you want is because you get blamed for something because what Microsoft is royally screwing up every single time they do a Windows update. They're, like I said last week, if you're listening, if Microsoft can get 3 months to 4 months without having a problem, I might start changing my tune a little bit. I will give them a congratulations on that as well, because that's a feat that I don't think is possible. So let's jump into some other news here. Now that we're done with some of the big three, well, I guess we can talk about Windows real quick. .NET Framework 3.5 is kind of, what is it? Isn't it like end of life or something? Uh, I can't remember everything with that, but in previews of the Windows Insider, ASP.NET 3.5, .NET Extensibility 3.5, they are going away, and so that is going to align with the product life cycles of these products as well. So yeah, this is what happens as things die off, and I realized that the reason why I mentioned this is because well, I'm using some stuff in those that I realize I'm gonna have to upgrade, and I'm not looking forward to it. So yeah. Um, Next topic, which is more interesting, if you're looking for storage, right? We're all into a lot of SSDs, a lot of fast stuff. However, there's still a lot of people out there like me that have, store a lot of data locally, and well, right now, still the cheapest way to do that is hard drives. I can't get big enough SSDs or NVMEs that I want, so I'm still on hard drives. And one thing about hard drives is that you're kind of limited by the speed, on there of the drive. We've been stuck at what, like half of or 2/5 of the throughput of SATA. So, on those hard drives for a while, and now it looks to be there's going to be Western Digital is doing a high bandwidth drives with dual pivot technology. And this is pretty interesting. So it's supposed to double the bandwidth of these drives. So if you're able to double that bandwidth, you are getting a lot closer to saturating SATA. And I don't know if there's going to be a new interface for hard drives upcoming. You got SAS and stuff like that as well. But on just normal people's systems, or normal motherboards and stuff, is that going to change? They have a planned bandwidth of 8xing by 2030, so they want a lot more. Plus that they're increasing the density. So they're expecting a, increased density of 4 terabytes per platter, and so there's going to be a lot there. The big thing is, though, they're going to have like 40 terabytes, right? So if you got 4 terabyte platters, you have up to 44 terabytes per drive. They're pretty cool stuff. The big thing is that they announced by 2029 they want to get up to 100 terabytes. So you start going 10 terabyte platters, 14 platters per drive. Uh, yeah, it could be really fun to see how well that they can do, or what they can do with this. You know, hard drive technology, I think, is still a reasonable source of stuff to do, to be able to, read, write, store data, especially if you don't have the money to put buy a bunch of SSDs until that comes out. I mean, we also got a memory crisis, right? And that's going to affect the prices of storage, I think, a little bit, flash storage. And so if you can use a hard drive in that, and you get better throughput now with these drives, and they're going to increase the throughput later on, I think this is going to be a good option, and something I'm looking forward to, actually. So yeah, I actually think it's a cool idea. I'm going to talk about one other thing here before we get into gaming stuff, I think. uh, yeah, let's do that. Noctua is, I have their coolers. I use some of their coolers. I've never used the upgrade kit. I actually take that back. I have asked for an upgrade kit once. You can take the CPU cooler and get the upgrade kit and then move. They have shipped a 500,000 upgrade kits. Their mounting kit upgrades, and I think this is really cool. They talk about preventing waste and conservative value material. I think it's the actually being able to reuse your cooler that's so awesome. Is that you can take your cooler, you built it in such a way that it just can migrate. I mean, a lot of these coolers are, you know, kind of close to the same designs anyways with these sockets, but you can take these coolers, move them forward, and still use them and get a lot done with them, and they still work well year after year after year. I have to say, I do like these coolers a lot. When I've used them, they've worked well, and I've put them in systems, and I've done a review of one, maybe just one, or maybe a couple. I know one on my channel as well. So let's get over into gaming here as well. We're going to first look at Epic. And Epic Launcher, we all wish it was better, and Epic, I guess, wishes it was a better tool. So while they also said that they don't think Steam can be toppled, and it's not that I wouldn't say that these game launchers should be looking to topple Steam. I think that these game launchers should be looking to complement and improve upon where they're at, and just be another option in the marketplace and create your own niche for that. I mean, I think GOG has kind of created their own niche there as well. Kind of making sure that games don't have DRM and are playable going forward. I think that's a great idea. And if you can do your own niche and stuff like this, I think that you have a lot of opportunities. But, they talked about a lot of stuff with the launcher, and they realized that they have to improve it. They want improvements this summer. They want things to get better for their players. And if you do stuff like that, I think that you're going to be able to create something where people are like, you know what, I want to go through and actually use your product. So hopefully Epic can actually go through and continue on this path of making a better launcher. I have their launcher. It's sometimes clunky to do things, but it's not a horrible launcher, and it works. So there's always room to improve, and hopefully that they take it to heart and actually get a better launcher and people will want to use it more. The one thing you have to do, though, is maybe make it work on Linux, because we're going to jump in here, and Valve Steam Machine, right? We know it's coming, and Valve was talking about this, and we don't have a price and stuff yet. And what they said was, we announced these products back. We would launch these products in November. We planned on being able to share a specific pricing and launch date by now, but memory and storage shortages, you've likely heard across the industry, have rapidly increased since then. Limited availability and growing prices of these critical components mean we must revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing, especially around the Steam Machine and Steam Frame. Our goal of shipping these three products in the first half of the year has not changed, but we have work to do on landing a concrete pricing and launch dates that we can confidently announce. Being mindful of how quickly the circumstances around both of these things can change, we will keep you updated as much as possible as we finalize those plans as soon as possible. So that's what they were talking about there. I am interested to see where this pricing goes. That's going to determine how I feel about the product. Again, I think I still want to build a little gaming machine here, just to see if Micro Center can get a price again, like the 7500 X3D, and I got time to drive down there. Let's say it's $300. We put something together for a good price. We'll get that built on this channel and get something to you for a reasonable price. I'm hoping a GPU with 16 gigs of VRAM, and see where that leads us. Maybe it's a good gaming system for years to come, and we can just kind of talk about that and how it competes and goes with the console. Now, let's see what else we have here. A couple other things in gaming. We will first talk about Borderlands 4 is no longer coming to the Switch. Gearbox, you know, has canceled it. I remember I did a thing on it saying that they were delaying the Switch 2, um, and that was what the CEO said. And here I'm kind of disappointed. You don't kind of say we're delaying it and then go to canceling it. If you can't get it done, then you can't get it done. Don't you know, go down that route that you go down. I don't like that. That's, to me, that's sleazy, and yeah, don't do that. I don't know how else to put it. There's a lot of other ways, but I'm trying to keep it at least somewhat nice on here. Uh, so Grand Theft Auto is, I guess, still going to be marketed this summer, from what I'm reading. I was on, you know, Video Cards had this, a lot of tech sites had this as well, and I read it multiple different places, just seeing, you know, they got a quote and they got other ideas, right? And I'm going here. It's it. So okay, we can see if it launches on November 19th, and you start hitting the summer marketing. Okay, maybe this is going to come out. I mean, they did talk about, the CEO talked about how there's no generative AI in GTA 6, but AI tools are helping them speed up their production, which makes sense. I mean, if you can, as I said here, if you're using like machine learning and artificial intelligence to be more efficient in coding or being able to test or help you out identify things, I think that that's a good thing. Doesn't mean that you have to use generative AI for uh, you know, to build it and everything else, but there's areas where AI is very helpful. You know, a developer, and so I've incorporated more AI stuff here as of recent to help me be more effective and get. The goal is to get more done, and so far it's helped me get more done overall, which has been a huge help. So one reason why I haven't gotten a lot of videos out is that I've been trying to get been focused on getting a lot of work stuff done. Also with my family, was just busy this past week, so I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. But hopefully we'll change that around here. But GTA 6, if that's something you're excited about, you might be in luck this year. You might just be in luck. We will see. Okay, and this is one that, well, I'm really looking forward to, but I'm not keeping my hopes up. I really want Half-Life 3. I really, really want to play Half-Life's my favorite game. So for me, Half-Life 3, as long as they hit it off and do well, you know, keep it in line with what they've done already, I'm excited for it. However, they keep updating things, and the Gabe Fowler had some new Half-Life stuff, and I am to the point of I want to see it. I guess I won't stop reporting on it. I'm very hopeful it's going to come, but I'm in the whole why. I really want it. So, Gabe, you just if you're going to launch it with the console, the Steam machine, just tell me that that's going to be the case, and we can get. I'll be more interested for the whole Steam machine launch because I'm going to have something to look forward to. So. We'll see. So, yeah, I want it. I just don't know. There's a lot of hopium out there, but this is a game I really want to happen for many, many years. And yeah, I'm going to leave it there and I'll let you go. Sorry about my son up there. He's, you can hear him. He's been everything during this this recording. Every animal, now he's just yelling. So, uh, hopefully it didn't interrupt you too much. Hopefully it's in the background, but I do appreciate you listening and supporting Gray Overload. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, watch other of my videos. That really does help with the channel. Until next time, God bless.